Okay, evening everybody. Mr. Walkden here, the proud head teacher at Ecclesfield School. Thank you for tuning in tonight to our Year 8 information evening. This is the final one we've done. We've done one for all 5 year groups, and the evenings have been really, really successful. The idea tonight is really simple. It's just us to talk you through the timeline of the key events in Year 8. One of the great things about this academic year is that we've got some normality back in the building. I know for last year's Year 7, there was the zones and the bubbles, and they never really got that wonderful experience of actually starting at high school and having everything open in terms of the building, the subjects, you know, all the facilities that the school has got. So hopefully, in speaking to your children over the course of the last 8 weeks in the first half term of Year 8, they're giving you a feel for what it's like to actually be in the building. It's little things like being in the canteen, going on the AstroTurf, actually having art lessons in art rooms and PE lessons in the sports hall, the gyms, etc., etc. So hopefully the experience they've had in Year 8 is a fantastic one compared to certain of the strengths that took place in Year 7. We're going to go through various things tonight. Loads of guest speakers will speak, but the key idea is to understand how the homeschool communication makes Ecclesfield, what's going to happen in the future, and I guess more importantly as well is how you can support your child, not just going through Year 8, but also as we go through into the business years of Years 9, 10, and 11. So thank you for logging on for this tonight. Brilliant, really appreciate the support. Hopefully you're going to take away loads of information, both back to school, but also how to support. And if you've got any questions, don't forget, we've got the chat box facility. So hopefully enjoy tonight. I'll talk again at the end very quickly, but thank you for tuning in, and hopefully you'll find tonight really rewarding.
Good evening everyone, and welcome to the Year 8 information evening. We hope you find this evening useful. The key information that we want to share with you and communicate across to you is firstly the timeline of key events this year that you may find useful to know about and be able to pre-plan. Also to look at homeschool communication and things like how we're going to be reporting parent reports and the new Sims app that will be useful for you. And then thirdly, just how you can support your child this year. We know we've had 18 months of a really difficult and challenging time in education, and we feel like this year will be really useful to talk to you about some of the things that you can do to support your child at home. So we hope you find tonight, like I say, useful. If there's any questions that you would like to ask, like I say, please make sure you use the chat box, and we will get back to you with any of your queries. So the first part of the information evening, we wanted to go through the timeline for this academic year. Obviously, as you can see, tonight's Year 8 information evening, 21st of October. We then have half term next week, and then after half term, you'll be receiving your child's first Data Cycle 1 Year 8 progress report, and that'll be week commencing the 15th of November. We then have Christmas Jumper Day, which is the 17th of December. And then on the 24th of January, the week commences the 24th of January, we'll be doing the DC2, which is Data Cycle 2 assessments. And then that will lead to the Data Cycle 2 report home week commencing the 14th of March, just in time for the Parents' Evening, which will be running on the 21st of March. We then obviously at the last term have Activities Day, which is what we know as Sports Day. We have our assessment week, which is for Data Cycle 3, week commencing 27th of June. And then you'll be receiving your child's report for the end of Year 8 for DC3, which is Date Cycle 3, week commencing the 18th of July, just before the summer, and we'll be having our celebration assemblies as well that final week before the summer break. Myself, Miss Johnson, I will go through explaining assessments and reporting in more detail later on in this presentation.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Siobhan Melody, and I'm one of the assistant head teachers at Ecclesfield School. I've been asked to speak to you tonight about our brand new Sims parent app. This is a brand new application that we are launching across our first half term this year. So between now and October half term, you will all receive an invite to download the app and to start to use the app. Why have we made this decision to bring the app in at this stage? Well, we fundamentally believe in the power of being able to communicate in a consistent method with every single one of our stakeholders, from teachers to support staff to parents, as well as the kids. So that's why we've looked at various different methods of using and refining our communication streams. We feel now that the Sims parent app is something that after this last year and a half, we are all in a better position technologically to be able to access the Sims parent app. And we've got a better understanding of the needs of levels of support that need to be put into place so that everybody can access it. So that's why at this point we've decided to launch the all new Sims parent app. The app allows you to receive push notifications from the school, so you will, if you download it as an app, you will get push notifications just like you would for many other apps that will come through on your phone. You will receive your child's report via that. You will be able to view reports via the app, and you'll be able to see your child's attendance and punctuality, their rewards, as well as their behaviour points. In time, we're looking to roll out more and more options within the functionality of the Sims parent app. So you will in the future be able to book events via it, pay for tickets, pay for trips, even see your child's homework via the app. And this will be our school's new method of communicating with parents from November onwards. After this point, unless you put into writing to the school to say that you still continue to request paper copies of any letters that are going out, we will only communicate via the Sims parent app. Okay, so to facilitate a more effective rollout of this Sims parent app, we aren't going to launch it with all of our year groups at once. We don't feel that that would give you the best experience, and we also want to make sure that this is a really impactful rollout straight from the start. So across this half term, you will receive a letter similar to the one that is on the screen. That letter will give you your activation code to be able to log on, download the Sims parent app. You can use it as a web browser, you don't have to have the app, but I would recommend the app heavily because the interface of it is much more user friendly. You will get a code that you will need to use when you log on to activate it. We will also send to your email address an email invite. That for me is the easiest way to join the Sims parent app, because all you have to do is click the big green button that says accept invitation, and then you'll be asked to put your code in, your activation code. Your code is for you, it is personal just to you. And then once you've logged in and checked some key details, then you will be able to access the app in its entirety. I just want to make clear to everybody that we use the email addresses that are given to us when you first join the school, and if they have not been reviewed or updated, now is a good time to do so. If you find that you haven't received an invite by the time it's getting near October half term, obviously on social media we will tell you when we are going to be launching this. We will be sending text messages to you, so you will know. If you don't receive an invite via email, it is probably a very good chance for you to just call the school, speak to student services, and just check that we've got your correct email address. It will be the email address that you've been using to access the Sims our Parents Evening, School Cloud Parents Evening software. If you're new to the school and you've never used that software yet, don't worry. Just keep a lookout for the email invitation. Sometimes it does go into your spam folder, so please do check that first before you contact the school. And it really is as simple as that. It's clicking on that big green button, registering with using your email address and your child's details, and then you will be straight in to the Sims Parent app. You can register, you can sign in with various different ways. You can use your Twitter, your Facebook, Google, or you can sign up with an email address. It's entirely up to you. Once you get into it, you can see your child's details. The interface will look like the central dashboard image that is on your screen at the moment. And if you've got more than one child at the school, it will have them all on the same profile. So when you log in, you will get something similar to the image on the right-hand side of the screen now, where you will be able to click on the child and it will take you to their individual details. The joy of the Sims Parent app is it tells you when all of our information evenings are, parents evenings. It will have links to the websites for you to be able to purchase uniform, as well as being able to book onto events, book into parents evening events, but also it allows you to see how your child is performing day to day, which is something that I'm sure we would all appreciate. Once again, if you have any issues using the Sims Parent app, I'm sure I've made it sound far more difficult than it actually is. If you do, there will be a link on the letter that's going to be sent to you to our IT team, who will be able to support you in ensuring that you can use this Sims Parent app. Okay, thanks very much for listening to me this evening, and I'll hand back to Claire.
Good evening, everyone. Steph McCoy here. I'd like to talk to you about the importance of literacy at Ecclesfield School, and that splits into three key areas: reading, oracy and writing. Reading with fluency and developing vocabulary and comprehension is absolutely critical. The reading age of exam papers is close to around 16 to 17 years of age. We know that many children can read fluently, but they might not always understand the words that they read. So our job is to ensure that during classrooms, in every classroom and across every subject area, that we're developing that vocabulary and understanding for all children. We know that understanding and being able to articulate yourself is critical for mental health and for confidence, and in the future to success and links to higher earning power. We know that reading age is a huge factor in Key Stage 3 and 4 confidence for students and potentially for exam success. And we know that reading more now will pay dividends in the future. And in a moment, I'd like to give you a few suggestions of what perhaps you can do at home to help to support your child to read more at home. Also about oracy, we know that speaking and listening skills are absolutely crucial for success in school, but also beyond the school gates and in life as students make their way into the world post-16. We've got a 3-year plan to become an oracy school with the charity Voice 21, and this is where we want all students to find their voice both literally and metaphorically. We want students to be confident, fluent and articulate speakers. And again, these skills are absolutely crucial for future education, employment and training, and they really are the keys to the future. So the emphasis we'll be placing on these as students move forward with us will be paramount. Finally, the two things come together, reading and oracy. We know writing floats on a sea of talk, so the vocabulary and the ability to speak and listen really will develop students to be better writers through expert teaching. And again, we know that writing is critical for exam success. So just a few ways that we're going to be developing our reading and oracy in school, and then some ways perhaps that you'd be able to support your child at home. So in terms of reading in school, these are the things that we're doing to develop confidence and a love of reading. Firstly, reading much more widely across every subject area. So for example, teaching students to read like a scientist, to speak like a scientist, to write like a scientist. And across every subject area, we're developing key vocabulary which will enable them to understand much more clearly and be able to articulate themselves when they come to both write and to speak. We use STAR testing 3 times a year. We test students to provide a reading age. This helps teachers to support, and also through scaffolding they can also stretch and challenge children. Whether their reading age is lower than their chronological age or higher, teachers will be able to support students in the classroom, and also where required beyond, where we put reading interventions in place. Twice a week, every tutor group will have a class read time together. So they will be reading a range of books. They'll probably read 2 to 3 books a year as a class, and really devote that time to developing comprehension, but also enjoy reading aloud, enjoy reading together, and enjoy reading something that perhaps they wouldn't have experienced if they weren't reading as a class. So that ranges in fiction, in terms of fiction and non-fiction, and might just give students a bit of an idea about which genre they would prefer to read if they've been a more reluctant reader in the past. On that, we have a 10,000 book library. There is something for every child. It really is a wonderful place, and if students are struggling with what they would like to read, firstly, we have an amazing librarian, Mrs. Bird, who will be able to make some suggestions based around reading age and genre. It might be encouraging your child to read the book of a film that they've enjoyed, which will just help to convert their imagination onto the page and perhaps enable them to start reading a certain genre. But we also have suggestions in the school planner. There's a page that is around 100 books to read, suggested books to read before you leave Echo. I really would recommend going to the planner to hunt that down. Finally, if students do need additional intervention in terms of reading and comprehension, we will put those support mechanisms in place. In terms of that, we have Power Up, which was previously called Lexia. We've got Bedrock Vocabulary, and also Aspire Literacy, which is our internal reading programme based around comprehension. So finally, what can you do at home to develop spoken confidence and a love of reading with your child or children? Please try to encourage your child to read regularly at home. Around 20 minutes a day really does develop good reading habits, and although it might be more challenging as children get older, reading aloud really does help to increase fluency and speed of reading. So perhaps reading to the dog, a younger sibling, an older aunt, on FaceTime to the nanan might be a really brilliant way of just developing that spoken reading, sounding words with confidence, and is brilliant for developing that confidence of reading. Please ensure that your child has a reading book each day. I've talked about our fantastic library, but it is part of their compulsory equipment, and each day your child will have time where they will be able to read in the school day. If you could ask your child questions around their reading book, or perhaps an article that they've been reading, this will really help to support them to understand, process and articulate what they've read. So it might be asking them about the characters that they've been reading about, predict what has happened, what might happen next, or perhaps analyse what's been happening, and get them to really drill down into the characters. That would really help to support their understanding by being asked questions about it, or make them think about it. But it will also help to develop their vocabulary and their spoken articulation of what they've been reading. Encouraging your child to research any words that they're not sure of, perhaps by using a dictionary, would be amazing. Can they use those new words in the correct way, or in a different context, but in the correct way? That will really help to develop their vocabulary, and when they come to either speak or to write, they will have more words to use. Please encourage your child to speak in full sentences. We all know how hard that is sometimes, but just to justify their opinions. It also helps to prepare children for their college or job or university interviews by practicing speaking to other adults. For example, it might be ordering a takeaway over the phone and asking your child to do it as opposed to doing it yourself, or perhaps speaking to someone at the bank about their bank account. That really would be helpful. And again, it just helps to develop their vocabulary, using the correct register when they speak to the appropriate person, what type of language to use to the appropriate adult. And then finally, just a little bit about our Oracy work with Voice 21 for the next 3 years. We really will be developing that vital communication skills that children and adults all need for working life. So we'll be learning to talk, loads of classroom talk, and also learning through talk. It really is something that we're really passionate about, and we look forward to sharing more information about that with you in the future. Many thanks for your support. We really do know the power of reading and the power of literacy, and we look forward to speaking with you again. Thank you.
Hi everyone, good evening. My name is Miss Monaghan. I am the Assistant Head Teacher for Teaching and Learning here at Ecclesfield. I'd like to take a couple of moments this evening to talk to you about knowledge packs. On the left-hand side of this slide, you can see an example of the knowledge pack booklet. Each student will receive a knowledge pack booklet at the start of each half term across Year 7, Year 8 and Year 9. Inside the knowledge pack, there is a range of knowledge organisers, and these essentially include the key facts, core information, models, diagrams, subject-specific vocabulary and definitions for each subject. You can see some examples for maths, geography and computer studies on the right-hand side of this screen. Students must bring their knowledge pack with them to school every day. It is essentially part of the daily school equipment alongside their stationery, their school bag, their reading book, etc. Students will be using their knowledge packs to support their learning in lessons and also whilst at home completing independent study and home learning activities. There's a range of strategies and ways that students can choose to use their knowledge pack while at home. They could, for example, use the look, cover, write and check method to support them with learning key content, vocabulary and definitions. They might choose to create revision cards, mind maps, quizzes to support them with revising. Family and friends can also quiz the students using their knowledge organiser to check their understanding. Knowledge organisers can also be used to support home learning and can be used to support the learning of key vocab and their definitions. I'd like to take a couple of moments to show you the location of knowledge packs on our school website. So just underneath the curriculum tab, you will be able to see a long list like so. You will need to click on the knowledge pack section. And when you do so, you will be able to see Year 7, Year 8 and Year 9. This section will be updated each half term so that at any point in the academic year, students will be able to access the previous knowledge organiser and the content inside. I will also continue to update this section on ways that you can support your child with using knowledge packs from home. For example, there will be some video clips to show you how you could use the knowledge pack with your son or daughter, and also some other guidance and support over the coming weeks and months. And finally, I'd just like to end the presentation by sharing with you some of the benefits of using knowledge packs. They help to show your child the bigger picture of the topics they are studying. They also support children with their learning and their and the work that they complete at home. They help your child to link their learning together so that it's easier for them to know and to remember more. They support children with their learning, revising, remembering key content, vocab definitions. And finally, they're a very useful tool to support students with missed learning and missed opportunities that they might have through absence, etc. Thank you very much for your time. I look forward to working with you over the coming weeks and months to ensure that the knowledge packs are a successful tool in supporting our children moving forward with their learning.
Good evening, everybody. My name is Miss Johnson and I'm the Assistant Head Teacher for Outcomes. I'll be talking to you tonight about assessments for this year and how I'll be reporting to parents. So I'd like to start this evening by explaining how we assess your child. And we use a system called DART. This stands for Directed Assessment and Recall Time. This is a cycle, and the cycle runs 3 times in the year. And the cycle starts with teaching. We obviously teach your child the key topics that they need to know in line with the curriculum journey leading into year 11. We then have 1 week where we allow your child to revise, and this is called a revision week. And revision week is really important because this allows your child an opportunity to recall on information that they've learned previously. And it also allows them to learn skills on how to revise. There are so many different ways a child can revise, and it's really key for us to teach your child various different ways so that they know the way that suits them best, so that when they get to Y11 and they have to assess for key assessments and GCSEs and key exams, they're not wondering how to revise. They already know because they've been learning it since year 7 and building in the skills as they go through the years. Then they'll obviously be assessed, and they'll be assessed on topics that they've learned that currently during this year in Year 8, but we'll also recall information that they learned in Year 7 and possibly even key points from Key Stage 2. It's really important that when we assess, we do recall on information that they've previously learned. And this is because we're trying to get your child to recall and retain it, because then if they've retained the information, it'll be embedded into the long-term memory. And this will support them when it comes to Y11. We then give your child an opportunity for feedback week, and this is where the teacher will go through the assessment, they'll go through the marking, they'll go through the questions, they'll look at where there were class misconceptions, whether that means where the whole class might have got a certain key question wrong, and they'll also give your child an opportunity to look at certain questions that they may have got wrong themselves, and they can work on how they can improve it. And like I say, this is a cycle that runs 3 times a year. So after feedback week, they then move on to a new topic, ready for the next DART assessment. So like I say, there are 3 assessments. One has just been, that was on the 4th of October, and staff are inputting the data this week. Now, when they input the data, they're not inputting what scores your child got in the DART assessment. It's really important for me to make sure that you're aware that when your child was assessed on the 4th of October, the actual grading and how the scores and how your child did, that's retained by the teacher. And that information is to help inform them of their planning, their future planning, what they need to do, where your child's strengths are, what they need to work on. When it comes to a data input, this is focused on your child's learning. So you'll get a report home that centres around your child's learning. This will incorporate how they did in the DART assessment, but there won't be a grade given with the report. So on this week commences the 18th, teachers are starting now to input their data on how your child's done this half term, and you will receive a report on the 15th of November. The next DART assessment will be week commences 24th of January, so that'll be just after Christmas. Staff will start to input their data on the 21st of February, and you will receive the report on the 14th of March. And finally, the last DART assessment will be on the 20th of June, with the teachers inputting their data on the 4th of July, with the parent report going out on that final week before we break up for the summer. So tonight is also a great opportunity for us to explain to you how we've adapted the attitude to learning criteria. We've centred our focus more on students taking ownership of their learning rather than focusing on poor behaviour. Now, as you can see here, we've also looked at developing their attitude to learning through the key stages, rather than students having the same criteria from 7 to 11. So here you can see in year 7 to 8, which is obviously your child's focus, and that's on building good learning habits, and that's from level 1 to level 4. As they move into year 9, so next year the students will be moving to year 9, they'll move into the developing good learning habits criteria. And then also, if your child moves on to one of our Minerva schools within our trust, which is, for example, High Stores or Chapeltown Academy, they will then focus on mastering those good learning habits. So the idea is it's a stepping stone. Students build on their learning habits and take on more ownership. And the idea is that we're preparing them better for further education. So here is an example of the criteria for your child. As you can see down the left. So here is an example of the criteria for your child in building good learning habits. As you can see, along the left-hand side is building level 1 to building level 4. And then along the top are the 5 principles, which is behaviour for learning, engagement learning, responsibility for learning, feedback for learning, and independent learning. And as you can see, it starts from building level 1, which is I am rarely, and it develops all the way up to building level 4, which is I am always. always, and the specific skills that they focus on. Now, when it comes to the teacher making a judgment on your child, it's a line of best fit. So first of all, they're focusing on what level your child is, and they have to look at the work across all the 5 principles. They may also identify within the report where your child is the barrier. So the first job is to find out what level they are, and that's where this, like I said, they'll do a line of best fit, and then they'll look at what is their barrier into moving to the next level. And it could be, for example, behaviour for learning. Within it, they'll then focus on what actually within the principle is the concern. So here for behaviour for learning, it could be the respect. Respect could be the concern within the barrier. They may then also, though, identify a praise. One of the things we've noticed with the parent report is sometimes it can be quite negative because we only identify where there's an area for development. This year, we really wanted to focus on trying to be more positive as well. So not only identifying the barrier within the principle and then the concern, but also identifying something that could be a praise. So for example, here, we might be identifying to you that your child's behaviour for learning is a concern. It could be engagement, or it could be respect, or one of the key skills. But we might also identify to you a praise, and it could be from responsibility for learning. It could be organisation is a positive. So here's an example of the new parent report. This is a template. This is how it looks. As you can see, there is a lot more information being provided for you. Along the top, you can see the child's name, their form group. It will tell you your child's current reading age, if they've been late to any of their tutor time morning registrations, and then any late to lessons. It will tell you how many points, achievement points your child has received, and also behaviour points. It will then also identify your child's attendance, and you can then compare it against the criteria of what is seen as good attendance. We then also provide you with an average attitude to learning for your child. So obviously it will take an average from all the teachers on what they've said is your child's level within the building good learning habits. You can then also compare it against the average of the whole Year 8 cohort, so you can see how your child is doing against the full cohort. Obviously, like I said in my previous slide, the first thing the teacher does, once they've worked out what level your child is through a line of best fit, they then work out where's the biggest barrier. And that's identified in the report, but we'll also collate that for you so you can see where the biggest concern is. So for example, for this child, in this report, we would say engagement in learning and feedback for learning seems to be the 2 key areas that the child needs to work on. You then can see at the bottom, it's got the subject, it's got your teacher's name, so you can see the full name, so you can email them if there are any concerns. It gives the attitude to learning level. And then here you can see it's identified the barrier from the 5 principles. So it's identified which of the 5 principles is the barrier to move to the next step. We've then got the concern within the barrier, which is, the area for development, so something they could be working on. This isn't always negative. Even if your child is the highest level, it's really important for me to actually say this. If your child is a level 4 attitude to learning, there will always be one of the 5 principles that they can work on, because it's a line of best fit. So even if they're a level 4, which is the top level, there could still be a barrier that they can work on. There'll be one barrier out of 5 that could be a focus. So please don't always see this as a negative. It's just obviously there's always something we can improve on further, and this is how it's to be seen. So like I say, the area for development is within the barrier. That could just be a key part of what they can do to help them to improve, to move on to the next step. And like I said, we've then got the praise, which is identifying something that they're doing really well currently. So we're hoping that this report gives you a bit more information. It provides you with a bit more detail so that you can have some really good conversations with your child at home on their learning and sort of the next steps to support them in future reports that help identify areas for development. I hope you found this really useful. Obviously, if you've got any questions, feel free to write in the chat box, and hopefully I'll be able to answer them. I will also do some videos on the website to identify a little bit more further, give a bit more detail on how you can read your child's report, what kind of conversations you can be having with your child to help you out. So if there's anything else you can think of that you think would be helpful for you, please write it in the chat box, and I'll take that into account when providing some support material for the website. But thank you so much for listening tonight. It's been a pleasure to speak to you, and have a lovely evening.
Good evening, everyone. This is Alex Dean, your Year 8 Progress Leader here at Ecclesfield School. It's really nice to be able to speak to you again this evening about what really matters in terms of getting your students settled, organised and successful for a good year ahead at school. One of the things that I'm going to discuss first and foremost is attendance. Attendance has really suffered since COVID, and it's really important that we maintain as much consistency within school as possible. Aiming for 97% is our school's minimum expectation for school attendance. Now, we know that the situation last year played a massive part in dropping that attendance at school, but it's vital that now that the school is open, that your students and children attend as much as possible. 97%, to put it into perspective, is less than having 1 week off school throughout the 39 weeks that we currently attend in a school year. Making sure that your child is in school will also help to maintain good friendships, good social interaction, good, steady, consistent learning, and also helps them to grow within enrichment activities that we have at school. Taking part now in team activities is something that we will encourage all students to get involved in, and having that good attendance will ensure consistency amongst all of those successful criteria within school.
In terms of recipes for success, what should we be looking for? Obviously, we've already discussed excellent attendance. Being above 97% is going to mean they're not going to fall behind within the lessons. Being punctual to school is also something that we strive for. We have form time every morning that starts at 8:40, and it's incredibly important that your child is part of that form. It's something that they will have contact with their form tutor and with their other form members during that morning. So being punctual to school is incredibly important as well. Students should also be gaining feedback from their teachers, knowing how to improve their work and what they need to do to strive to make it better. Students should also be organised, making sure that they've got the equipment for the day, they've got their planner, which is organised with any home learning that they might need and require, and that they also go and seek out members of staff if they need them, if they need to find out more. We should also be making sure that students are not shy of working hard. Sometimes our expectations in lessons are quite difficult, but we make sure that they're being pushed in the right direction. So if something's a bit challenging, there's nothing wrong with getting things wrong, but then we need to work out how to make things better. Children should also have high expectations of themselves. We've already talked about dreams and aspirations in some of our assemblies. So making sure that not only them, but also you as their parents and carers also have high expectations, taking pride in their learning, taking pride in the presentation of the learning as well. So making sure that they strive for a higher standard of learning. Students should also be quite confident in themselves, and this is one thing that we find that sometimes students coming from year 6 do struggle with. They're not very confident, it's a new setting, but also having a bit of a belief that they can do it and they'll be fine, and we can make mistakes as we go through. Keeping healthy is very important, making sure that they're involved in activities outside of school if possible. Obviously during COVID at the moment, a lot of our clubs are off, but making sure that they're involved in activity, they're exercising, they're getting fresh air, as well as eating regularly as well, making sure they've had breakfast, they've had a good healthy dinner, and also when they get home they're having an evening meal. Students should also be kept busy, making sure that they're not just coming home and being lazy in front of the television, but also are they keeping their mind busy? Are they reading, for example? Reading's one really good way of developing any opportunities and also developing the skills in terms of literacy. What's key to this though is making sure that they've got a supportive environment at home within their setting to make sure that these children have got support around them. We know that we can support them in school, and if you do need any support in terms of your child, then you can obviously contact us as well. Making sure that they've got the whole circle around them is going to make sure that your child's got a recipe for success. In an ideal world, what we've just said is all well and good. The recipes for success, if we could have it all on paper, give it to a student and say, there you go, there's your recipe for success, then obviously they would be able to run with it. But the thing is, in an ideal world, that would be wonderful. We're not in an ideal world, and it's not always perfect. So there's a couple of things that you can do obviously at home to help. So a couple of tips. Think about if there's a place to study at home. Do they have a quiet corner in your house where they can study without distraction? Maybe they've got younger siblings, for example, that distract them while they're trying to learn and do the home learning. See if you can pick out a quiet area where your child can go without distraction and maybe do the work alone. Mobile phones are a bit of an issue. Make sure that the switching mobile phones off, particularly social media, can be a massive distraction, particularly from things like revision and home learning. Make sure you've got some ground rules in terms of how long social media is used or how long they're on the phone playing games, etc. Give them time to obviously enjoy themselves, but make sure that it doesn't distract them from their learning at home. Is there any specific areas that your child is telling you that they're finding difficult? Is there something that we could help with in terms of curriculum? Discuss this with your child and be really open with them that, you know, there's no problems and no hiding places, but if your child is struggling with something, let us know. Is there anything that you've told them that they're particularly struggling with? And if it is, obviously communicate with that with us. At the moment, with them being in year 7, it's not particularly something to think about, but in terms of revision guides, all students have been given a knowledge organiser. Talk them through that knowledge organiser and see if there's anything that they would like to know more about. It's always good. It's a good habit to get into in terms of developing further knowledge, and we really like to push kids in finding what they enjoy and finding out more about it. Is the time structured at home? Talk about deadlines and work that they can do. Think about lists and planning and making sure that students are aware of what they can be doing in terms of their learning. If there's homework to be done, are they aware of it? Do they know when it needs to go in? They could even, for example, create some kind of calendar at home where they know that there's certain things they've got to do by a certain date. Might just make life a little bit easier for them to get planning. In terms of home learning, are they completing it on time? Are they getting overwhelmed by the amount of homework they've got? What I used to do in terms of my school is leave it all till Saturday, which is the worst thing to do. It's probably a good idea to get things done as they go along if they can. So making sure that they're doing some sort of regular home learning when they get home, get it out of the way, and then it's done. Is your child getting quality sleep? Have a good bedtime routine. Particularly after lockdown, it's a really good idea to have some kind of quality sleep routine. Making sure that they're getting physical exercise outside as well can also really help. Making sure that you are communicating with your child as well also really helps to develop some kind of support system at home. And obviously, again, you're able to communicate with us as well. Last but not least, be really open with your child, discuss their learning and their subjects, discuss the school report with them and be really open with what they say. You can always obviously contact us and we'll talk about the contact and how you're able to contact us later. But in terms of making sure that you're fully open with your child and discussing everything to do with school with them. This side's pretty self-explanatory, but I think it's really important to mention the fact that phones are, as we know, a massive distraction to learning. One of the biggest problems that we have in terms of friendships, etc. in school is social media. Now at 11 and 12 years old, in theory, your children shouldn't be on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, etc. But we do know that there will be some that use it. My only biggest tip really would be to make sure that you monitor how much your child is using social media platforms or even using their phones, particularly at night. They can cause a massive distraction to home learning in particular. We don't allow phones to be on within the school building for this reason. Phones should be switched off at all times within the school building, but we know that obviously at home that's not going to be the case. So please make sure that you monitor it. We don't want kids tired, coming to school tired, and also at the weekends they don't want to be tired because they've been up during the night, been on social media. But there's a lot of anxiety that goes with having a phone and being on Facebook or Twitter or Snapchat. And we do know of issues where kids have said things to each other that they later on regret. So it can be the biggest enemy for revision and exam success, but also because of student well-being as well. So please make sure that you're monitoring with the amount of time that they use it during the day. Just the last little bit really in regards to communicating with the school. Please make sure that at any point, if you've got a question or a query or anything that you wish to discuss with us, that you do get into contact with school. Your form tutor is obviously the first point of contact. So your child has a form tutor and that form tutor would be the first person that you go to. If you're unsure as to who this is, you can find this information on the parent portal. Alternatively, it will be on your child's planner. So you can get directly into contact with them via email. There might also be some kind of curriculum issue that you want to speak about. So it might be that, for example, your child's having a problem in an ICT lesson or maybe maths. You can contact the curriculum leader directly, and the curriculum leaders are all listed on the Ecclesfield School website. Please be aware that class teachers do not have access to a phone within their classroom, and obviously given a busy timetable, a teacher might not be able to get straight back to you, so a curriculum leader would be the better way of going about that. The last route really would be to speak to myself or our pastoral manager, Mrs. Foster. You can see our emails directly on there, which come directly to my inbox. Alternatively, we do have our own phones within our office, which are not manned throughout the day. So there is an answer machine on there, and we do hope to get back to you within the 48 working hours. That goes for all staff. If you do leave us a message, we will endeavour to get back to you as soon as we can, but we do have a 48-hour working route to get back to you, so apologies for any delays that we might have. It's given the number of students that we have, obviously we can't always get back to you straight away, but we will endeavour to get back to you as soon as possible. So thank you very much for listening to my part of the presentation. If you have any questions regarding the pastoral side and any kind of queries that you'd like, please feel free to get in contact.
Evening, guys. Mr. Walkden again, head teacher again. Just to hopefully, you've learnt loads tonight. You've taken loads on board there. There's lots of information being given to you during the course of the last hour. The session, of course, will go on the website and our social media networks over the course of the next 24 hours. But hopefully, during the course of the evening, you've taken lots on board there. You've given you information that will be key as you move through Year 8 into Years 9, 10, and 11. Thank you for tuning in tonight on this Thursday evening. We've had lots of people have got on board. We've got some questions as well, such as that. So thank you for those questions as well. And hopefully you've learnt loads. Take care. We're going to finish off now with Miss Johnson's inspirational video. Take care. Have a good night, and hopefully see you soon. Thank you.
that's just Fosbury. You know, just pay no attention to him because he's just unique and an oddball.
High jumper on our team and in our league.